God bless you, everybody. I don't think I'm gonna be before you too long. So I wanted to tell you about this dream that I had, and in the dream, I was I was in someone's house, and I was aware that even though I was in that person's house, there was a neighborhood of people, maybe like two other houses, maybe like three houses that were included in this dream. And in the dream, there was a person who came to me and said, we all get together and we just, we curse each other. Like we speak ill of people, we wish things on people, we just, you know, we curse each other or we wish, things on people or, there was like a feeling of jealousy maybe. And they came to me and they said, why don't you go ahead and curse, your neighbor or whatever? And I said, no, I don't do that. I bless and I do not curse. And they had like these cards. Now I don't want to say it wasn't like a playing deck, but it was like a couple of cards with things, different curses written on them. So you would like pick from like almost like a deck of cards to figure out, what you should curse them. So they was trying to help me out to come up with stuff to curse people about. So they spread it out almost like a magic trick. You know how they spread it out and they say pick a card, any card. And they spread it out in their hands and it was like pick one, pick one. I was like, no, I don't get down like that. I don't do that. And so they said, well, you know what, we're gonna help you out. And they picked for me. And the card that they picked was um, bless and do not curse. And I said, see, I was like, see, God, God don't want me cursing people. God don't want me cursing people. And then that was the end of the dream. But in the dream, they seemed like they were shocked that that card would come up because they thought that everything in their hand was curses. So anyway, that was the end of the dream. And what I believe God is saying here is that in these days and times, be very careful. Be very careful. There is something. Um, there is a blessing in not cursing people. There is a blessing in not cursing your neighbor. And anytime you have a dream, you should always try to figure out, where have I seen this in the Bible before? Where have I seen this in the Bible before? And there's a couple of instances where it speaks about, well, specifically worded. What I saw in the dream was bless, and do not curse. There's a scripture in the New Testament that speaks about, um, even though they despitefully use you or persecute you, bless and do not curse. Jesus also speaks about, um, um, bless your enemies, that type of thing. So a lot of times, what happens is, um, that we don't even realize it, but I mean, we may not come out and be like, oh, I wish they would die or something, like nothing like that heavy, but it's more like you saying, you know what, God, you see what they doing? Get them. God, that's not right. I'm the apple of your eye. And look what they doing to me, God. Get 'em. It's like that. It's more like you asking God to, you using your prayer time to like ask God to basically get them in some way or fashion. It's not enough to say, well, you know what, I'm not going to. Okay, well, I'm not gonna curse them. I'm not gonna curse them. I'm not gonna say anything bad about them, but I'm not gonna bless them either. And God is saying that you need to go ahead. Those people that have wronged you, talked about you, whatever it is they did, you need to go ahead and bless them. Basically, just asking the Lord to bless them, asking the Lord to keep them, to preserve them, to and if you know of specific things in their lives that are awry, you need to ask the Lord to you know help them in that situation. Um, And this can be hard because you're like, well, I know they ain't blessing me. I know they ain't, you know what I mean? Like, I know that they probably straight up, saying all types of things about me. But God is saying that you ought to bless them and not curse them. Bless them and not curse them, not trying to get something in return. But however, when you do this, it um it's like a blessing for you. I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't make sense. But when you bless people that have been mean towards you or nasty towards you, it ultimately blesses you. Don't make sense. But God's ways are so much higher than our ways. It's not logical, but somehow, some way, it turns around and it blesses you when you bless them. I can give you an example. Um, Years ago, there was a girl in my job, and she was just straight up nasty to me. And I remember this wisdom coming from God to just pray for her and to bless her and everything. And the more I prayed for her, the more um, blessed I became, the more full of joy I became. So just on even on in that sense, it was just like, because at first, you pray for a person and you're like, Lord bless them. All right, next. But eventually, it got to a point where I was praying, and it became more than just bless them. It became more, Lord bless her, bless the fruit of her womb, bless her children. It just became, you know, just natural and truly, truly meaningful. And the more I prayed for her, the more joy I began to have. And so when I would go into work, they couldn't understand it. They couldn't understand. They was like, well, how can she be so nice and caring towards us when we've done all that we've done and said against her? They couldn't understand it. And I found out from other people that they were saying that they couldn't understand why I was so nice to them, and it was coming from a genuine place. And because when you pray for somebody, you begin to um, genuinely love them with the love of Christ. And they couldn't understand it. It became a sign and a wonder to them. And so it blessed me to bless her. It blessed me to bless them. And so there is a reward in that regards in terms of how you feel about the situation, how you feel about yourself. But there's also ramifications in the spirit that you don't necessarily know about, that things are happening for you. Like, for example, like if you could bless somebody, um, uh, 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 let's just say, for instance, you could bless one of your enemies, and you're just saying, Lord, I just thank you that she's gonna come bless her womb, that she's gonna come forth and bring this child forth or whatever. Da, da, da. Are you sitting there blessing that person when it comes time for you to give birth? That blessing somehow comes around back on you. The same thing that you were able to be happy and bless that person, that same type of blessing somehow ricochets and comes right back on you for when it's time when you get pregnant or you give birth or whatever. So God is saying, bless your enemies, that it will benefit you to bless your enemies. Not that we're doing it to get something back, but we're doing it because God requires us to do it. And anytime obedience is wrapped up in it, there's always a reward for that. There's always a reward. And like I said, I hope you don't misconstrue what I'm trying to say, but we're not doing this because we're trying to get something back. But an added benefit is that you do end up getting something back. Um, but also I wanted to touch on that sometimes people, when they pray and they're like, God, you see what this person doing? You're not cursing them, but you're just saying, God, you see what's happening. Da, da, da. God is saying, yeah, he see what's happening, But instead of you saying that, it should be more, more of you praying for that person, blessing that person. He see what he see it. He knows it. So that don't even need to be said. Don't even need to be said. So you just pray for that person, and the rest will come. The rest will come. So, um, yeah. So this was a message. God is saying that do not return evil for evil. They treating you bad. You go ahead and bless them. So like I said, I don't know who this is for, but somebody out there is struggling with something that people are coming against you. God is saying bless them. Now, unless it's just a straight up witchcraft situation, that's a whole different story. But unless it's a straight up like witchcraft, I'm not talking about somebody like cursing you and really like trying to mix together Aya Newton bat wings and stuff against you. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about that. That's a whole different video. But if they, um, but if they're just like somebody just being nasty. When I saying like cursing you, like they just a regular run of the mill person. They ain't a witch or any old warlock or anything like that. It's just a regular run of the mill person, and they just making your life miserable for whatever reason, whether in word or deed. God is saying to bless and do not curse them. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. God bless you. I love you. And till we meet again, my friends.